non-partisan.
You don't know how to fix the holes in our ozone layer. You don't know how to bring the salmon back up a dead stream. You don't know how to bring back an animal now extinct. And you can't bring back the forest.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Race to Power. I'm Ananya Datta. Before we begin, we have some news coming in from India's territory of Jammu and Kashmir. An army vehicle came under terrorist fire in the Rajouri district. While an encounter was launched, 3 Indian soldiers were killed in action and 3 more were injured. According to initial information, 2 to 3 terrorists are surrounded by security forces. And for more on this, we are going across to our correspondent, Idris Lone. Idris, what is the latest you have for us?
Well, Ananya, the operation still continues. More deployment has been brought in the area. Security forces had a tip-off about the presence of these militants since yesterday, and the operation, cordon and search operation in the area was launched yesterday, and at around 3:45 today, an Indian Army vehicle came under the fire from the militant side, which resulted in the death of 3 Indian Army soldiers and also injuring 3 others who have been shifted to an Indian Army hospital and are being treated there. Security forces say that there are 2 to 3 militants hiding in the area, and a search operation to nab them is still on. Although the operation might be halted for the night and started with the first light in the morning, but security forces now bringing in more deployment so as to neutralize all the militants who are holed up in the area.
Right, speaking of the Rajouri area, Idris, have there been any latest incidents in the area because of which the Indian Army was tipped off for this encounter?
Well, absolutely. Since the winter has approached, Rajouri and most of the international border in Jammu region is where the foreign militants from across the border infiltrate from, and that is where they choose the route like Rajouri Poonch to seep into Kashmir territory, and that is where most of the militants are active as well at the moment. And security forces already had a tip-off about these militants in the area. They had a tip-off that a group of militants have recently infiltrated from across the border, and these were the militants who were responsible for this attack as well. They were searching for these militants from the last 24 hours, and today at around 3:40, these militants managed to attack an army vehicle in which 3 Indian Army soldiers were killed and 3 others injured. But security forces already had the input that these militants are roaming in the Rajouri area. And we've seen in the past also there have been many attacks that have taken place, especially in Rajouri and Poonch area. And security forces have already been alerted, especially close to the international border.
All right, Idris, thank you so much for getting us all those updates from the ground. Let's begin our race to power now. In the latest coming in from New Delhi, 3 more opposition lawmakers have been suspended from the parliament. This takes the total number of MPs suspended for the winter session to 146. This is a record. The suspensions have come over protests by the opposition in the House while demanding the Home Minister's statement on the Parliament security breach last week. Now, the Speaker of the lower house says that the opposition's demand is untenable as the security of the Parliament comes under his jurisdiction and not the Home Minister's. 2 intruders jumped down from the visitors' gallery on the desk of the MPs inside the Lok Sabha when it was in session on December 13th. The opposition, however, claims the security of the Parliament is in fact a matter of national security, which is why the Home Minister should give a statement on the breach. Protests that followed inside the parliament have led to the mass suspension of the opposition MPs. Meanwhile, with near empty opposition benches, the Lok Sabha passed a key legislation that seeks to regulate the appointment of top officials of the Election Commission. The opposition India bloc leaders have called for a countrywide suspension on December 22nd. In a related development, the Home Affairs Ministry has asked India's Central Industrial Security Force to conduct a survey of the Parliament building. Now, this is expected to be a precursor to the CISF taking charge of Parliament security from the Delhi police, along with the Parliament security. Shifting focus to neighbouring Pakistan now, former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan wants to contest in the upcoming general elections from at least 3 constituencies. His Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party has said that Khan will contest from the Lahore, Mainwali and Islamabad seats. But the bigger question, will Imran Khan be allowed to contest at all? In August this year, a trial court convicted the cricketer-turned-politician in the Tosha Khana corruption case. The case was filed by the Election Commission of Pakistan. The conviction effectively disqualified Khan from contesting elections for 5 years. However, days later, the Islamabad High Court suspended his 3-year jail sentence. But Imran Khan has to still remain in jail in other cases. The Islamabad High Court is also expected to pronounce its verdict on Khan's challenge to his conviction in the Tosha Khana case. The PTI hopes that the verdict will come soon, as it plans to allot tickets to all its members jailed in the May 9th riots and other cases on a priority basis. Meanwhile, party chairperson Gaur Khan said that the PTI wanted February 8th elections to be held on schedule at any cost. Now, Gaur said that he too will take part in the upcoming polls from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa's constituency. Now, no accusations, no protests, not even a non-cooperation movement has been able to stop Sheikh Hasina. The Bangladeshi Prime Minister has launched her election campaign. In a practically no opposition election, her party is eyeing for a re-election. While addressing a rally in eastern Bangladesh, Hasina did not stop short of calling out the opposition. She mentioned a quote-unquote black sheep in London. It was clear Hasina was referring to Tariq Rahman, the acting chairperson of the BNP. Now, he was convicted of corruption and sentenced to 17 years in prison. Since then, Rahman has self-exiled and has been running the party affairs from London.
ওই লন্ডনে বসে একটা কুলাঙ্গার হুকুম দেয় আর কতগুলো লোক নিয়ে এখানে আগুন নিয়ে খেলে
A black sheep sitting in London gives orders, and some people are here to play with fire. Everyone must create resistance against the bombings, firings, and the burning of people with fire.
Today, Hasina took a page out of the work-from-home book. She virtually addressed 5 districts. Hasina urged everyone to cast their votes and maintain peace during the campaign trail. Now, these calls are in complete contradiction to what the opposition has accused the ruling party of. Multiple accusations have been levelled over the months. Let's take you through them. First, there is a massive crackdown on opposition parties. Second, party leaders and activists are being arrested across the country. And third, questions are being raised over the fairness of past and even the upcoming general elections. So put its point across, the opposition has been holding protests, strikes, and in fact just yesterday they launched a non-cooperation movement. However, political experts in Dhaka say that these moves are having far less of an impact than what the opposition thought. So much so that on strike days, people are going about their daily lives. The next 2 weeks are going to be crucial for Bangladesh's politics, democracy, and most importantly, its people. Now, 3 presidential candidates locked horns at Taiwan's first televised debate as tightening opinion polls continue to heighten the drama ahead of the January 13th election. Relations with China took center stage at the debate expectedly. Remember, the polls will define the China-claimed land's future ties with Beijing. The frontrunner to be the island's next leader, Lai Ching-te, says that in his address that in China's eyes, all 3 candidates are separatists. Both Lai Ching-te and his party, the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, support Taiwan's independence. China has in the past rebuked the current vice president as a dangerous separatist.
China's desire to swallow up Taiwan was the country's national policy as they strive for world hegemony. It's not because of a political party or related to any candidate and their policies. You also cannot stop it by accepting everything China advocates. Do not foolishly allow China to define Taiwan independence.
The DPP leader stands against Taiwan's largest opposition party, the Kuomintang or KMT, which favors closer ties with Beijing, and it is against ditching the island's formal name, the Republic of China. The opposition candidate has been catching up in opinion polls. At the debate, he reiterated his party's stance that Taiwan independence will lead to war.
Under the rule of Democratic Progressive Party, Taiwan's independence will lead to war, and war is getting closer and closer to us, and peace is moving further away from us. Under me, Hui Yui, we will not give in and respect the current status quo, build a trusted relationship and peaceful exchange to ensure stability. Mr. Lai Ching-te, I am different from what you think about me. I abide by the Constitution of the Republic of China. I oppose one country, 2 systems, and I oppose Taiwan independence.
The third candidate in the race to power also wears a pro-China stance. But he has trailed in polls after his party's talks to form a joint ticket with the KMT did not pan out as planned.
I hope Taiwan can be a bridge between China and the United States, not a pawn in the confrontation between China and the United States. I hope Taiwan is a united and harmonious society but not a divided place.
As China steps up military activities around the island to assert its sovereignty claims, it says that for talks to take place, Taiwan has to accept that the 2 countries belong to one China. The DPP-led administration has refused to do so, though it has put forth the proposition of talks several times. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin has a new electoral challenger. Former TV journalist Yekaterina Duntsova has put her name forward to stand in the Russian presidential election in March. She has submitted documents to officials at the Central Electoral Commission to formally enter the contest. More coming up in our next report.
A challenger at last. Russian President Vladimir Putin finally faces an electoral challenge in the form of a little-known former journalist. The 40-year-old presidential aspirant who has been calling for peace in Ukraine has submitted documents to register her candidacy to run against Putin in 2024. Yekaterina Duntsova's candidacy was formally nominated by a group of 521 supporters at a meeting in Moscow last month.
At the stage of registration for presidential elections, we succeed. I think it may inspire people who support us.
The Central Election Committee is due to review the documents submitted. Once they are registered, she can start collecting signatures of support. To be registered for the elections, independent candidates like Duntsova need to gather at least 300,000 signatures from 40 regions or more.
At least I will be registered. But of course, collecting signatures is a huge job. and I hope that people will also actively participate in it.
Yekaterina Dantsova is a small-town journalist with no previous national profile. She announced her intention to run for president last month. Reports say as soon as she announced her electoral intentions, she found herself being questioned by the police and her bank account was blocked. While the odds are very much stacked against her, the would-be candidate appears remarkably undaunted.
Why are we talking about permission if this is my right according to the law and I have that possibility and have the necessary qualities to put myself forward, including in the framework of the law? We are just moving ahead according to the formula prescribed by federal law, and for that we don't need anyone's permission.
Dantsova's candidacy is noteworthy mainly due to her vocal anti-war stance, her call for democratic reforms, and for the release of political prisoners. The 40-year-old, who is also a mother of 3, says she is ready to go to jail for it. Dantsova's popularity has grown exponentially ever since she announced her presidential bid. She has close to 200,000 followers on social media platform Telegram. While a newcomer to national politics, Dantsova is far from a total rookie. She has worked for the past 2 decades as a journalist, 16 years of which she spent as editor-in-chief of a local TV channel. She has also served as an independent deputy in the local parliament for 3 years. However, challenging Putin for president would still be a long shot for her, if at all she is allowed to do so. The tight control over Russia's political system that Putin has established during 24 years in power makes his re-election in March rather assured. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Let's go across to the United States now. Republican lawmakers have announced the inauguration of a new Congressional Hindu Caucus. This is being done in the interest of the religious minority to raise their issues in the U.S. Congress. The announcement comes less than a year before the 2024 presidential polls. Now, the caucus is expected to bring the Hindu American community and policymakers closer. Republican lawmakers Pete Sessions and Elise Stefanim introduced the caucus. It was first established in 2017 during the 115th Congress. The caucus aims at representing the values significant to the Hindu American community. Explaining the need for this initiative, Pete Sessions said the inauguration of the Congressional Hindu Caucus marks a significant step towards recognizing and amplifying the voice of the Hindu American community. He further added that we are committed to addressing their concerns, celebrating their contributions and ensuring their perspectives, that they are heard at the highest levels of the government. The caucus will represent Hindus not only from India, but also from Nepal, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Pakistan, Afghanistan, the United Kingdom and the Netherlands. It will also include members of other faiths with Indian origins, such as Sikhs, Jains and Buddhists. Remember, caucuses have been used in various forms in the United States since the 1800s to address a range of political topics. They not only allow voters to make a case for their preferred candidate, but also to raise issues that could be incorporated into incoming policies. While Hindu Americans make up less than 1% of the country's population, the community's economic, political and social influence has grown significantly over the years. Let's get you some tech stories in this Race to Power's edition. Tech giant Google is restricting election-related queries on its AI-powered search engine and chatbot Bard. Google plans to bring in its restrictions by early 2024, that's next year, in the run-up to the US presidential election. Now, Google said that it will focus on the responsible use of AI in political contexts. This refers to the role that artificial intelligence could play in servicing voters and campaigns in the 2024 elections globally. The Alphabet-owned company's efforts will also include like India and South Africa that have their national elections in 2024 as well. Facebook's owner, Meta, has already prohibited political campaigns and advertisers from using its new generative AI advertising products. Meta has told advertisers to disclose the use of artificial intelligence or other digital methods in altering or creating political, social or election-related advertisements on Facebook and Instagram. Remember, earlier this year, Elon Musk's platform X, that was formerly known as Twitter, allowed United States political advertising that was banned on the platform since 2019. Governments worldwide are seeking to regulate the use of AI due to concerns about misinformation. At the forefront is the European Union that has introduced rules for clearly labeling political ads on big tech platforms globally. Let's get you a quick check on some other political developments around the globe. Starting with the Democratic Republic of Congo, where presidential and legislative elections have been delayed to a second day due to logistical setbacks. The elections across Africa's second-largest country were disrupted on Wednesday by delays in delivering election kits and also malfunctioning equipment. People also struggled to find their names on registers, while violence caused chaos in other places. The decision by the Election Commission to extend the vote was rejected by 5 presidential candidates who have called for a rerun. Moving on to United States, where former President Donald Trump's lawyers asked the Supreme Court to reject a request to fast-track presidential immunity verdict. The case is currently scheduled for March 4th in the middle of the 2024 presidential primary season. A special counsel requested the court to expedite the decision whether Donald Trump was immune from prosecution over his efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. And now to India, where Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has decided to skip a summon by India's corruption watchdog Enforcement Directorate. The ED had issued a summon to Kejriwal for December 21st in connection to an excise policy scam case. Kejriwal had skipped a previous summon earlier this year. This time, the Delhi Chief Minister says that he is skipping the summon to attend a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat in Punjab. And finally to Serbia, where opposition protests continue in Belgrade. The opposition says the country's ruling party used fraud to win. Opposition leader Miroslav Elčić told media at the protest that their lawyers had requested the annulment of the December 17th elections. They have also called on the international community to give its support. The ruling populist Serbian Progressive Party won over 46% of the votes in Sunday's elections, according to State Election Commission preliminary results. The centre-left opposition alliance, Serbia Against Violence, came second with 23.56% of the votes, and the Socialist 6.56% third. And with that, we are wrapping up this edition of Race to Power. I'm Ananya Datta. Thanks for watching.
Israel woke up to a barrage of thousands of rockets fired from the Gaza Strip.
אזרחי ישראל, אנחנו במלחמה.
Hostilities have broken out between Israel and Palestine, and the tensions that had been gathering steam over the course of the last several weeks and months.
The siren has gone off. I don't know if you can hear in the background what's going on. I'm going into the shelter now. So it's a very, very serious situation here. across Israel. It's a state of emergency.
The United States stands with Israel.
Well, we are starting this broadcast with a developing story from West Asia, where Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant says Hamas has launched a war against the state of Israel.
It's easy to tell you a flat story. It's easy to show you what's happening around the world. We do the difficult part.
This weapon has been banned, but the US, Ukraine and Russia do not find the bombs problematic.
We also tell you why what's happening.
A new drug is making a difference in the fight against Alzheimer's. This medicine helps slow down a patient's cognitive decline.
We look beyond the text. We give you context.
Is China preparing for a war in the Himalayas? And tonight, we come to you with some proof.
Hypocrisy is stunning.
Do leaders mean what they say? Do they ever say what they mean?